when His Excellency the President, Mwai Kibaki, then sat in the House together with his deputy and the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Ministers. All cabinet ministers were present, but Mr. Speaker, we still failed to get 2/3 majority. Mr. Speaker, we have tried several times to have 2/3 majority to pass the 2/3 gender principle with no success, Mr. Speaker. For the first time, the history was made in this House that this House passed the Building Bridges Initiative Bill or the Constitutional Amendment 2020 Bill with overwhelming majority. 234 members, Mr. Speaker. Remember, we require 233 as the 2/3 majority, but 234, even with the 2 positions vacant, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a time that this country should have celebrated unity of purpose and cohesion in terms of pushing forward an agenda for this country. But now one of us, Mr. Speaker, who, for whatever reason, Mr. Speaker, and is serving his second term in this House, decides to exercise immaturity by behaving disorderly in this House. Mr. Speaker, I request you to find that the disorderly conduct was conducted in this House in accordance with the Standing Order number 108, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we should not let this continue, because I don't know whether these members who make unsubstantiated claims have understood why this House is called August House, Mr. Speaker. We are demeaning the dignity of this House. We have put it to its lowest. And Mr. Speaker, a number of times we make unsubstantiated claims in this House about our colleagues, and then we are let to go scot-free. Mr. Speaker, I think for the first time, I want to plead with you to find the member to be disorderly and name him, and then I would request another member to move a motion so that this House can make a resolution to have this member suspended from the House as a first offense of this nature. Moses Kuria, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, we cannot tolerate this. And the Honorable Kimunya actually said, you are the leader. No. I think all of us in leadership stand indicted, because he said a senior leader in the House. Mr. Speaker, you are there, the leader of majority and myself, and the entire leadership from both sides, Mr. Speaker. We sat here. How could inducement cause even members who are out of the country, like Simbarati, to vote from China, Mr. Speaker? I think we should not joke with serious matters, Mr. Speaker. If you have lost, or your side has lost, or whatever it is, that is the spirit of democracy. I have been in this House and I've lost so many votes here, Mr. Speaker. From 2008, there are so many votes we have lost here. Some we have even fought physically after losing, Mr. Speaker. But you cannot scandalize your colleagues for no reason. In fact, when we were taking the vote, Mr. Speaker, another person from the media house called me that members were being intimidated, they were being induced. Mr. Speaker, you cannot intimidate a member. You can issue a party position on a matter. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this as I sit down, that if parties cannot take a position on a constitutional amendment, Mr. Speaker, then what then can a party take a position on? The most important, the critical decision a country would make is to amend the Constitution, to change the etiquette, and to change the contract between the governed and the governors. So, Mr. Speaker, that is the time that you cannot claim independence of mind when you are actually dealing with a constitutional amendment. Either you follow what your constituents want, which overrides everything else, or two, you can vote because your party has whipped you a particular way. But talking of inducement, Mr. Speaker, is in bad taste. So as I want to stop there, Mr. Speaker, and ask that this member be named, and then we follow it through procedurally. If we could have another member ready to move this motion, and we vote on it, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Undo.
Honorable Speaker,